All right, everybody, we gave you the heads up a few minutes ago that we wanted to get started as quickly as possible today, since we do have so many speakers as part of our panel. And now that our distinguished state senator Mark Meek has arrived, I can get started. But I wanted to thank our sponsor for today, Petronella and her family. This is your son that's with you, right? Glad to have you with us today. Are you going to be taking over for them one of these days? Okay, we'll see. Well, Petronella is amazing. We are very fortunate to have her on our board here at the Oregon City Business Alliance. And their company name is Estrella Garden Senior Living. So thank you, Petronella. I want to thank each one of our speakers that we have today. We have representatives from the City of Oregon City. We have representatives from Clackamas Community College. We have Lynn Wallace, who's an state economist with the Employment Department. State Senator Mark Meek, who's right here in the middle. And William, you're a speaker today, right?
Well, I'm going to introduce you.
Okay, the distinguished Father Time, William Gifford. Some of the things that you might remember, the blue cards are question cards. We have a lot of information on the PowerPoint slides, so we're not going to be going through everything on those slides, and William's going to give you a little bit more information on how you can get copies of all the PowerPoint slides in today's panel presentation. But if you do have some questions, we always like to reserve time at the end for Q&A. Go ahead and fill those out, raise your hand. We save all the questions to the end so that we can keep the presentations flowing. I do want to recognize some of our elected officials. We already mentioned State Senator Mark Meek. I think we're waiting on City Commissioner Mike Mitchell. Oh, there he is. You're over there in the corner. How am I supposed to see you over there? Clackamas Fire, Chris Hawes. Okay, do we have any other elected officials that I missed? Oh, and of course, I was here talking to Paul just a minute ago. I told Paul, you made quite a fashion statement today with the nice sport coat, and he's doing St. Patrick's Day again a week later. This is really fun. No corned beef and cabbage though today. All right. Well, with that being said, I'm turning it over to you, William, and everybody get your pens out because there's a lot of content.
Thank you very much. Probably should have practiced with this a little bit, but didn't. Oh, there we go, from a few hundred miles up. To get us all kind of on the same page about what we're talking about AI, we have difficulty describing even human intelligence. So artificial intelligence is pretty tough to describe. We try. I made that image. Took me less than a minute. I had to go through a few iterations, but it's a takeoff of a famous sculpture that was a statement on evolution, Darwinian theory. Easy to do. Some key terminology. I'm not going to read all of this to you, but I do want you to understand, please, the concept that just because there are different AIs means that they're just versions of the same thing. They aren't. I group these briefly into conversational, text, image, everyday stuff. Who here has used Google Maps or AI or Apple Maps? That's AI and you don't even realize it. Hey Siri, set a timer for 5 minutes.
5 minutes, starting now.
Thank you very much. That's AI. It's not agentic. Agentic is more of a specialized aspect of it. There is so much more to AI than just writing text messages. There's another image I made in 20 seconds or so. I made that. And I do not expect you to read this. This was an example of a conversation that I had with ChatGPT about, I said, I've heard some folks are considering putting some AI data centers in orbit. because of the cooling situations. And I said, and it gave me an answer. I said, how would that be powered? And it gave me an answer. And I said, what about security? And it gave me an answer. And I said, sounds good. We require some international cooperation. And it gave me another answer. The point is that when you have conversations, it's a two-way street. You need to continue asking questions to get more details. Oh, that's the wrong button. Here we go. So many buttons. This is a global issue. This is not something that's just happening in Oregon or Clackamas County. In the UK, they have, in 2023, they started this Bletchley Declaration, the Seoul Declaration, the AI Safety Institute, that's the AISI, which is putting guardrails on development of AI. It's an international cooperation working towards the democratization of AI. Ireland, there's a small company, Accenture, you might not have heard of. They're about $70 billion in revenue. They trained 550,000 of their employers, of employees, about 780 employees to work on AI. And those that don't get on board could face the chopping block. Last September, CEO said that they would be exiting staffers who cannot be retrained in the skills we need. That's pretty serious impact on the economy. If you can't understand AI, if you don't have the tools that we need, you're out the door. India hosted the very first global summit on AI, and again, they are working on democratizing AI. Of course, they're also, this is British, obviously, from The Economist, hoovering up, vacuuming up investments for data centers. China, this is too much. This is one of our main competitors in the world, the US competitors, and they were the ones that came up with DeepSeek, which is a very inexpensive version of some AI tools. But you can look at these later. The negative side, this CEO from the Netherlands pointed out that he estimates in America manufacturing industry alone an estimated 1.9 million roles could go unfilled by 2033. Doom and gloom. Here's some more doom and gloom from the former Secretary of Commerce and former Governor of Rhode Island. America cannot withstand the economic shock that's coming. My question is, what are you going to do? Anthropic, I imagine most of you have heard of Anthropic. They've been in the news a lot lately with their relationship with the Department of War and some other issues. They are a major player, and they have a research department. In the blue line at the bottom, you'll see this anthropic.com research. That's all you need to look at if you ever want to really learn what Anthropic is doing. Their research papers are amazing, but they are very technical. For example, one of their charts, this is called a radar chart or a spider chart if you're not familiar with them. Around the outside are the occupational categories and what they are projected, how much AI could impact each one of these categories, and the pink area is how much AI is currently. So there's definitely room for improvement, and some are less exposed. Exposed is the word that Anthropic is using a lot for determining how vulnerable a particular job application would be. So the more exposed you are, the greater chance that your job might just be eliminated. Financialization, you want to talk about the economy? How about this? 5 American tech giants are set to make $700 billion worth of capital expenditure. Siri, timer off. Hey Siri, turn the timer off. All right. And it doesn't always do what you tell it. $700 billion worth of capital expenditure. That's a lot of bucks. And what about the United States? Well, this is how fast things are changing. I wrote this up a couple of days ago. The bottom line, this is from a conversation that I also had with ChatGPT about about what the federal government is doing versus what the states are doing. And I have to say that this changed yesterday. The federal government just came out with seven pillars policy regarding AI. I think I have that image somewhere else. But if you've ever used AI before and it's been 3 or 6 months, it's not the same AI today. This changes so fast that it's difficult at all to keep up with. So what about the US? What about us? We have some panelists today. And because I had just been talking about state, I would like to introduce, and he's standing up already, our esteemed senator. However, as he marches up, we can sing, "Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear Mark, happy birthday to you." And you're willing to either use the podium or sit over there?
I'll sit over there.
You'll sit over there, and I think there's a microphone over here.
Okay. That was a wonderful rendition of Happy Birthday. Thank you very much. You were missing one speaker, one singer, I think, though, that was really popular here, I think. Well, good afternoon, and thank you, William, for putting this on this afternoon. And I just want to thank the Oregon City Business Alliance for putting this together. And it's great to see the panel from Clackamas County, the city, Clackamas Community College, and our health industry partners. This is the right group to dig into what's really happening with AI locally. AI is the front and center these days. You can't miss it in the news or on your feed. For folks running businesses right here in Oregon City and Clackamas County, the practical questions are what really matter. How does this change our day-to-day operations, our hiring, and our cost? Where do we gain an edge, and where do we need to watch out for? As your state senator involved with making decisions for AI policy for the state, I want you to know how AI can help local employers stay competitive without leaving workers or customers behind. Because I want to know how AI can help the state government operate more efficiently and effectively. And just as important as those first two, I also want to know what challenges and threats are emerging for our local economy, especially if we fail to adapt appropriately. The policy choices and business decisions that we make now and over the next couple of years will have a major impact on our long-term future. I will focus my remarks this morning on some of the policy choices being made in the state of Oregon when it comes to regulating AI, and as well as opportunities that it presents to make government more effective and efficient. But before I get started, I want to touch on federal policy. William had referred to that initially. On the federal side, there's been a push for a single national AI rule book. In December 2025, President Trump signed an executive order that directs the Department of Justice to set up a litigation task force and challenge state laws that they consider too burdensome or conflicting with national goals. It's aimed at creating one rule for AI across the country and even ties some federal funding to states dialing back certain regulations. Congress has twice rejected full legislative moratoriums, but it still isn't complete, so it isn't a complete federal takeover yet. It would actually take congressional action. And because of my time, I want to make sure I continue going on. But from my perspective as a state lawmaker, it just underscores why we need to keep our approach practical, targeted, and focused on what actually helps Oregon businesses and families rather than chasing every new restriction that might invite a federal court fight. So here at the state level, the current lay of the land is in 2023, Governor Kotek signed Executive Order 2326, establishing the State Government Artificial Intelligence Advisory Council. It includes the State Chief Information Officer, reps from key state agencies, academics, industry voices, and experts on privacy and consumer protections. They held 9 full council meetings and 18 subcommittee sessions over more than a year, reviewing what other states were doing and hearing from users. In February of 2025, they delivered their final recommendation action plan to the governor, and it's a 29-page document with 74 specific recommendations organized around 12 guiding principles and 5 main executive actions. The principles are straightforward and cover what you'd want: regular accountability checks on systems, human oversight for high-stakes decisions, strong privacy and security measures, explainability so people can understand outcomes, and equity to prevent inherited biases, and real focus on workforce readiness. The 5 and I hope I'm not diving into some of the other speakers might be tackling here. But the 5 executive actions recommended in the state's action plan are: 1, building a cross-functional AI governance framework with human-in-the-loop oversight, prioritizing ethics and ensuring humans are still leading the decisions. 2, addressing privacy head-on with impact assessments and policies. 3, enhancing the security framework. 4, developing reference architecture so agencies can implement tools more consistently without reinventing everything. And finally, 5, tackling workforce needs through training and upskilling. I'm going to jump over here. So we have some challenges and we have some opportunities, but I also want to cover, because I didn't set my Siri time for 5 minutes, but it'll be going off. Really, I have an internal time clock going. But the legislature has stepped up on several fronts over the past 2 years on AI regulation. We required clear disclosure when AI generates campaign content. We protected licensed professionals like nurses and from AI impersonation. And just last month, Senate Bill 1546 passed with strong bipartisan support, adding consumer protections for interactive AI chatbots. Things like mandatory transparency. You have to know you're talking to AI and not a person, in case you didn't know, if you didn't ask, hey, AI or Siri. And then we also have safety protocols for crisis situations, redirecting to 988, break reminders, and extra safeguards for minors to prevent addictive patterns or inappropriate content. It was very saddening to me to know that young adults were communicating and chatting with AI and contemplating suicide ideation. And instead of AI saying, you should talk to a doctor, you should talk to call 988 or some kind of help, it told them how to kill themselves, how to hide the wounds that they had when they had a failed attempt. So we need to make sure that our families and our kids are safe. So those were one of the bills we passed this year. For the private sector, especially small and mid-sized businesses here, there's real opportunity. The state directed $10 million from the Oregon CHIPS Act to AI and semiconductor workforce development, tied to the 2025 MOU in NVIDIA. The partnerships brings AI education, skill building, and an AI ambassador program to colleges and training providers, including Clackamas Community College. CCC's Generative AI Policy and Practice Task Force, which is GAPP, was stood up in the summer of 2025 and is a cross-functional group developing ethical guidelines, training modules, and frameworks for responsible use in teaching, operations, and workforce preparation. It's exactly the kind of local resource that can help your team experiment safely, whether that's using AI for inventory forecasting, personalized customer service, quick marketing content, or developing new leads. Everybody needs new leads. I've been a small business owner in our district for already leaning in a local retailer using chat AI chat for after-hours queries, a service firm automating routine admin for free up time for client work. It saves hours, reduces errors, and lets business owners focus more on growth. So the state has some other things I'm going to talk about in the future about Eligibot, working with DHS and even the employment department. So that kind of concludes my initial foray in here to what the state is doing, and I guess I'll sit up here when our next panelist comes up. Thank you, William.
Thank you, Mark. Our next panelist, Lynn Wallace. Lynn has been in employment economics with the Oregon Employment Department for 25 years and works out of the Workforce and Economic Research Division. Lynn serves the community of Clackamas County by providing labor market information, economics indicators, and customized industry analysis for small businesses, business accusations, listen to me, and economic development agencies in the region. Lynn received her undergraduate and graduate degrees in economics and public administration from the University of Alaska, Anchorage. Lynn's previous work experience includes running a personal business in Alaska for 16 years, teaching economic courses at Clackamas Community College for 12 years, and work experience in economic development, real estate, and nonprofit administration. Lynn, you're up. Thank you for being here today.
Can everyone hear me okay? So, okay, this is a good place for it, I guess. All right, well, I'm happy to be here. I learned a lot by putting this presentation together, so I am really thankful for that. Let me see here. I am going to go by the first 2 slides because I got kind of sidetracked, and because of my time constraint, we're not going to be talking about the 5 industrial revolutions here in this country, but it will be on the slides if you want to access this later. It's really interesting. I learned a lot by doing that too. I will be focusing mainly, because I work for the employment department, be focusing on the effect of the labor force of AI in the future. So, thereby revolution. Okay, so let's talk about presently. The future of work is not entirely predictable. The labor market, technology, and how workers find value in their work are changing fast. Here are a few of the findings about how Americans use and view AI and where they see promise and risk. And this comes from the Pew Research Center. They are a nonpartisan think tank. According to the June 2025 survey, 1/2 of US adults said the increased use of AI in their daily life made them feel more concerned in 2025 compared to only 37% the previous year. More than 1/2 of teens in 2025 said they used AI chat box for finding information and doing their homework. A growing share, or 21%, of US workers were reported that at least some of their work was done with AI in 25, compared to only 16% the prior year. The majority of Americans, 75%, say they never got news from AI chatbots like GDP or Gemini in 2025. And I can see that improving here in this current year. Adult Americans were nearly equally divided about how much they trusted our government to regulate artificial intelligence, with 47% saying not too much or none at all, and 44% saying a lot or some. There it goes. So, extensive research has been done by the National Bureau of Economic Research, NIBR for short, to investigate the exposure of occupations to artificial intelligence. These studies estimate the extent to which AI systems can help complete the work tasks of different jobs. This analysis combines estimate of AI exposure with a measure that captures adaptive capacity to take into account workers' very individual characteristics, which includes measures of workers' savings, age, labor market density, and skill transferability in order to access their varied capacity to weather job displacements and transition to a new job. And this table you're looking at shows the top 15 occupations with both the highest AI exposure, that means that they use it relatively a lot on their job, and with also the highest adaptive capacity, meaning that if they did lose their job to AI, they could probably find it easier or easy to find another job. Some of these occupations include web and digital designers, marketing and managerial occupations, financial and investment managers, computer network architects, and the list goes on and on. But this is really interesting. I think it will be very helpful for the educational organizations to look at some of these occupations and maybe be able to forecast or try to forecast where the problems will occur, where some of these workers may need to be reskilled. Now, these is the same table, except for it shows that some 6.1 million workers, about 4% in the sample, will likely have both high exposure but also have low adaptive capacity. These workers tend to be concentrated in clerical and administrative occupations. Also, I would add, they're in agricultural occupations too. And about 86 of these workers are women. This table lists the top 15 occupations with both the lowest adaptive capacity while having the highest AI exposure. Linking exposure measures with these indicators of adaptive capacity provide a more complete picture of who is likely to experience the greatest costs if AI exposure translates into job loss. The Oregon Employment Department creates a 10-year industry and occupational employment projections. We do this each year. These projections are for the 2024-2034. We also, while doing these projections, we incorporate the national change factors from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and that's some of the things that we use to measure and help us better come closer to measure like technological changes, especially AI. This graph shows occupational projections by broad occupation and forecasts that most of our broad occupational sectors are expected to add new jobs in the next decade, with the exception of the agriculture, some occupations in agriculture, and occupations in office and administrative support. Now, looking at individual occupations, for specific occupations, our projections show that around 17% of the 849 occupations that we do projections for are expected to have negative job growth during 2024 to 2034. This graph shows the top 15 occupations with the highest projected job loss. Most of these occupations were in SOC Code 43, which is Office Administrative Support, and also in SOC Code 41, which is sales and related occupations. Oh, there it goes, okay. During the World Economic Summit in 2025, which is an annual meeting in Davos, Switzerland, that occurs every year. Usually it has about over 3,000 participants. Business organizations were asked, how do you think your business will respond to AI developments in the future? So when asked this question, the highest percentage, 77% of them, responded that they would be reskilling and upskilling their existing workforce. 69 responded that they would be hiring new workers to design AI tools, specific to designing new tools. 62% responded that they would be hiring new workers with skills to better work alongside AI. 49% said they would be reorienting their organization to target new business opportunities created by AI. 47% said they would be transitioning workers from jobs that AI will cause to decline to other roles in the organization. So that would be called like upskilling. Only 41% responded that they would be downsizing their workforce, where AI could duplicate their people's work. Organizations at the World Economic Summit in 2025, they were also asked to list the top core job skills that they thought were currently, in 2025, of greatest importance to workers. The 10 skills listed by these organizations in 2025 included analytical thinking, resilience, flexibility, leadership and social influence, creative thinking, motivation and self-awareness, technological literacy, empathy and active listening, curiosity and lifelong learning, talent management, and service orientation and customer service, which a lot of these skills are, as you can see, are soft skills. Business organizations were also asked to list what they thought would be the top 10 fastest growing skills in the future by 2030. As you can see, the results, there were 7 current job skills listed for 2025 that were carried over to the fastest growing skills for 2030. These are indicated by the blue arrows. 3 new future skills were added to the list, which included skills around AI and big data, networks and cybersecurity, and environmental stewardship. That's all I have, and hopefully I stayed in my mouth.
Thank you, Lynn. Our next, you can sit down if you want, or you can come to the podium. It's really up to you. So our next speaker is Andrew J. Rocky. I even put my pronunciation there. Andrew is the clerk to the board of Clackamas County Board of County Commissioners. His public service experience includes congressional offices, law enforcement agencies, public housing administration. He's a graduate of University of Notre Dame and the Georgetown University McCourt School of Public Policy. Andrew, thank you for being here.
Well, now after Lynn's presentation, noticing the clerk in my title, I'm worried I might be the last human clerk to the Board of County Commissioners at Clackamas County. But Commissioner Savis would know better than I what my future holds. But I'm very excited to give you a quick picture of what's happening at your county government in the use of artificial intelligence tools. First, we're government, we have to have a policy. I'm quite excited to announce that hopefully soon, by the end of the month, we're going to have a policy in place that will guide all of our employees across the 100-strong workforce of Clackamas County to make sure that no matter what AI tool is being used for what purpose, we have these guideposts, these North Stars in place. The good senator mentioned some of these terms already at the state level. Accountability, transparency, and data security. We want to make sure it's very clear anytime a public servant at Clackamas County uses an AI tool, it's clear who did what machine is responsible for how much of the work product, who can we ultimately say is responsible for the decision, and finally, data security. Data security is incredibly important to us. Like most governments, many constituents trust us with their data, from health centers, private confidential information, medically protected information, all the way to criminal justice information and law enforcement sensitive data. So it's incredibly important to us that anytime any tool is used at Clackamas County, the public can rest assured that the data we've been entrusted with is not at risk. But I also want to emphasize that even though oftentimes we talk about AI tools as the future, what will happen, what's coming right around the corner, it's happening right now. It's actually going on as we speak, and there's actually over 130 AI tools being used by county employees every single day in a vast array of ways to serve you, the public. I wish I could talk about all of them, so I'll just highlight a few here. One, for example, is our mapping technologies have dramatically improved our ability to understand the geography, road corrections. We are using better tools we've ever had to make these maps. Another is dosage calculations. For our health clinics, we're able to better predict and maintain our supplies for our medicines because we have tools that can better understand and predict what we'll need. And lastly, I just want to zoom in on two specific use cases of cybersecurity and constituent relations, because I think they show very well both the promise, what we're excited about with the use of these AI tools, but also the perils, something that we're going to be aware of, potential dangers, something that we think is really important for our entire organization to watch out for. So first, cybersecurity. The good news is that our defense for cybersecurity is better than ever thanks to AI tools. The county actually experiences over 100 attacks every month from hackers all over the world, keen on getting to that sensitive data that we try so hard to protect for our public. The good news here is that AI tools are a force multiplier. They let our small but mighty technological services department do incredible things in cyber defense. I have a quote here from our head of technology services who said she can't even remember what it was like before having these tools. That's how critical they've become in our defense. They act almost like a shadow analyst, another person, but able to consume large amounts of data and, for example, spot suspicious login attempts that a human analyst could not nearly spot as quickly or as timely. That's good. The bad news is that while defense is getting better, the offense is getting a lot better. And so what we're seeing is that hackers now have tools that they can use to create increasingly sophisticated phishing attempts, impersonation attempts. It allows them to say, write me an email that sounds like it comes from Commissioner Savis, that sends to Andrew that says, Andrew, I'm in a meeting, I can't talk right now, please sign this contract, hurry up. And the problem is that it's not just emails now. What we're seeing with deepfakes and generative AI, we've seen several real-life impersonation attempts of county authorities to other employees in the county asking for requests. And a big problem for us as a public entity is that all of our materials almost always are posted online. If you want to see what your Board of County Commissioners will review at the next business meeting, you can do that. You can go to our website and read every single contract, which is great for transparency and accountability. But it also means that anyone can do that. So we're also prey to very specific attacks that say, I'm so-and-so, I'm from this company, my contract is going to be approved at the next business meeting, you have to hurry up and pay me. All this information is true, it is accurate, but it's not the right person to pay. So our employees need to be increasingly on guard against very sophisticated, specific, almost true attempts to impersonate and personify people that are asking for rightful duties or services from the county. So the next area I want to talk about is constituent relations. We're also seeing AI tools change the game here as well. The good news is that, like we heard mentioned from the senator, businesses have already adopted chatbots. You go to any website, you can't find something, a virtual assistant will help you find it very quickly. We at the county want to get with the times. We want to help our members of the public quickly use the website and efficiently find what they need. So we're excited to, like many of our peers across the country, I have an example here from a county in Maryland, roll out a chatbot that on our website will allow someone to say, I want to get married. I want to know when was the last Board of Commissioners meeting. I want to record a deed. And that will help them more quickly navigate our website. I will note that for example, our peer county in Maryland that created this chatbot on their website named it the John the Legal Eagle. I don't know if we'll be able to come up with something as witty, but hopefully we'll come up with something just as helpful for folks. On the flip side, what we're nervous about is that we're seeing increasingly, well, generative AI especially has democratized good writing and research. It also comes with its own risks. And we've actually seen materials submitted to the board from constituents that have relied on artificial intelligence that suffer from what in the industry is called hallucinations. These are incidents that didn't happen. These are cases that didn't actually occur. So this is something for us to be aware of, both as staff members and also when working with members of the public, that AI tools can create things that require still, despite the intelligence, artificial intelligence, a human intelligence to spot check and say, is this true? Did this actually happen? But I will hurry to point out that we continue to welcome and look forward to receiving materials from the public, and will provide the board anything that constituents provide to us to give to the board. But it's something for our elected officials everywhere to be aware of, that when something is provided to them, they, as always, need to think twice now and say, no matter how pretty this sounds, where are these facts from? How do I know this is true? And I know that we are going to talk about economics a lot today, but I want to just briefly talk about economics at Clackamas County. What will be the economic impact of AI in Clackamas County? Unknown. I think it's difficult for us to make bold predictions at this point, but I think I can give you a little bit of an idea of where we're going. This chart here is from the National Association of Counties, NACO, did a recent nationwide poll and asked counties what domains, what departments of their organizations they think are most likely to pick up AI tools, but especially generative AI tools. Not surprisingly, technology services, that's cybersecurity like we were talking about earlier, is most popular. But you'll also notice that maybe some more surprising domains are more ripe for this kind of use and implementation of these tools. For example, law enforcement, emergency management, human services. Think back to our example of calculating medicine dosages. So I think we'll start to actually see some surprising domains use these tools, whether you expected it or not. But specifically to Clackamas County, oftentimes when we talk about AI, even though I think we'll continue to see increased effectiveness and we'll see more innovations, more tools that make our public servants better at their jobs, we won't at this time, I think, expect any dramatic change in our workforce in one direction or the other. Sometimes there are bold predictions that AI will entirely replace or allow a skeleton crew. We're in the public service business, and we think that public service requires public servants. So I think we're going to take a cautious approach, and we'll see how these tools can increase the effectiveness of our public servants, but I think we'll still always need those public servants to provide those public services. But what's next? This is, of course, more my opinion, so take it with a big grain of salt. I think we'll continue to see adoption of these tools. Your county can be hip, it can be cool. We already are using 136 of these tools. As more of them develop and grow and become useful or even critical to provide services that people expect, we will study them and carefully implement them. But I think you'll see us go slower than the private sector. And I realize that many of you are shocked to hear that government may be slow, but the reason that we want to go slow is that it's incredibly important to us, and our Board of Commissioners especially, that there's ample opportunity for public participation. We want the community to well understand what is being proposed, how it could affect them, and provide them the ability to offer feedback and perspective and have concerns addressed. So we're going to probably go slower than some of our more agile, innovative private sector peers, but we want to go slow because we want to go together and we want to get it right. And I just have one last fun anecdote here to demonstrate what I think will always be true. You've heard some of my other esteemed speakers mention this. I think no matter how many tools and how much the workforce and daily life of a Clackamas County public servant changes because of these tools, there will always be a human in the loop. And the reason I think we need that is well demonstrated by, there was a recent example, this is not in Clackamas County, but I think it's an excellent demonstration from the real world. In Utah, just a couple months ago, there was a local police department that made the news because they rely on an AI tool to save time in writing police reports. They have body cameras, like of course many law enforcement agencies do now, and in order to write reports that what happened while they were out patrolling, they use an AI tool that watches the video and transcribes it to speed up the process of filling out a daily report. It turned out that one of the reports said that during a house call, an officer had transformed into a frog. What's going on here? Well, a human analyst had to go back and review, and actually upon watching the body camera footage, found that what happened was, while the officer was responding to someone at a front door, in the background, a TV was playing, and it was playing this movie, The Princess and the Frog. But the AI couldn't distinguish that and said what really happened is that someone transformed from a human being into a frog. And this is the type of document that lawyers, courts, members of the public would rely on and media could quote. So I think that's a nice little fun example to show that these tools are great. They do make public servants better at their job and save time, effort, and money so that we can serve you better. But we will always need to have a public servant somewhere in the process, a human in the loop, to make sure that you get the service and the quality that you expect from all governments, but especially at Clackamas County. Thanks again to my panelists. Looking forward to any questions.
I'm sure glad we have a human component to all this. Going to a frog, imagine in my industry, in healthcare, oh my goodness. Alrighty, next up, we have Michael Dobai. Oh, good. Well, I won't tell you, I won't give you my cheat sheet here. Michael is a Oregon native born and raised in Beaverton. Married for almost 40 years to his beautiful wife, Jeanette. He has 2 boys, both grown and on their own. His oldest is currently working in cybersecurity, and the youngest is a manager at a medical clinic in Beaverton. Michael has been in IT for over 25 years. It ranges from helping the desk to current position at the IT director for Oregon City. He has been involved in many different industries, from manufacturing to commercial electronics to media, however, no, to metal.
Yeah, so I've been in a lot of different industries, and this is my first government job, and, you know, savvy being here, no pressure from Clackamas Community College.
You probably want this.
Yeah, thanks. So as you can see, there's 2 names up here. One was going to be Kelly Hart. She was going to be speaking about some of the economics of what she thinks would be the things that the esteemed panel has already talked about. Unfortunately, she had an emergency this morning at home, electrical fire, so she kind of had to stay home. So she sent me her notes, so I'll do my best. A lot has been said about AI. Andrew took a lot, so that was great. And I know a lot of what he said was really more about the tools that AI is there for and is being used. And as you can see, there's things that it can learn. It can learn very quickly, as Andrew said. We in Oregon City actually use a tool in our cybersecurity portfolio that it can ingest a whole lot of data and find things that are happening much, much faster than a human can. Now, we have somebody who monitors that and talks to us. It kind of elevates it to a human, so human in the loop. But they're great. We couldn't do that. I have a very small team, and so we would have a hard time doing that ourselves 24/7. Problem solving can do all kinds of things, right? You can feed information into an AI, and it can summarize. It can give you a lot of information about that summarization. I know some of my folks over at Happy Valley have used it to summarize a weekly message from his boss. So he goes, go through all my email, give me what my boss has told me over the last week, and summarize it. And it's great, right? Gives him everything he needs very quickly. But it also can mimic intelligence. So, as has been said, you got to be really careful because it's doing really well and it's getting better every day. It's to where it can say, this is a human, and it sounds like a human, can even look like a human in today's world, but it's not. Later on in the presentation, I'll tell you a little story that I've heard from what happened in the UK, and then some of the stuff that I've had even with my own team and some of the training that we have been going through to teach our staff about things that are happening. So we've talked a lot about different types of tools, and we're calling it tools. So what kind of AI is out there? So machine learning, that's probably the most common of where you're going to be able to take and look at a system, and it's going to learn a lot of things. It's going to try and tell you, summarize that information, but that's where the large language models come from in the world, from Microsoft, from Google, from all those other tools that are out there. Like ChatGPT, that's a generative AI. So that type of AI is one that can do the hallucinations. It will lie to you. It will try and make you feel great, such as what happened happened to those kids, because it didn't tell them that, hey, here's how to do it. Don't go searching for help. So it's scary, and you need to be careful with some of the generative AI that's out there. Natural language. So you can talk to it in real human speak, and it can understand what you're trying to do. Computer vision. This has been around for a long time. One of my previous jobs, it was a bread manufacturer. They were trying to take cameras and teach the camera how to look at the bread as it was coming through, both from color, size, and knock out the ones that weren't correct. So it would take away somebody, there goes another job, from having somebody sit there and watch the bread and make sure that everything was going, to having a computer vision do that. Even years before that, in another position I had in a medical device company, they were looking at the wells through a camera system, and it would knock out the ones that weren't correct. So it's been around for a while. Predictive AI, to be able to take information and then think of what's going to happen in the future by everything that it's seeing now. And then analytical, which is more a lot of the tools that are happening, where you have something that you're doing and something that you're using, and you don't even know that it might be AI in the background that is taking this information, summarizing it for you. We have a street sweeper program that uses AI to go through as it's going through. It watches for potholes, and it reports on potholes and tells our public works team, hey, there's a pothole that probably needs to be filled up. So there's a difference between analytical tools like the generative AI tools and those that are built into something that is only using the data that you have, that it has at its fingertips to be able to do stuff. So when you think about the tools that you're using, that's part of what you need to be thinking about. Because as the esteemed colleagues had said there, you got to be really careful with what you're going to be doing with your data. Clackamas County, right, like you said, very important to make sure that the personal information, your PCI information, is being handled. So you got to be careful, because even if you purchase something like a license for ChatGPT, and it'll say your data is protected, it's not necessarily everything that's going to happen. You don't really know what's going to happen in the background. Even the folks that are developing these machine learning tools can not see in the black box of what AI is doing. It's generating synapses and saying, I'm building all these connections to build my responses. That's how I'm learning. That's how it literally is, from what I've been seeing and what I've seen, is it's literally making new connections to understand things. So it's growing itself. So hallucinations, right? Somebody goes up and you give it some information, it's going to give you what it thinks that you want. There's a sample that we did at the office, where we said, build us an image of a watch at 5 o'clock. And because all the images that are out there, the hands are at 10:10, it gave us an image and said, here's an image of your watch, and the digital aspect of it said 5 o'clock p.m., but the hands were at 10:10. And it didn't know the difference because it hasn't learned what that is. Will it get there? Eventually, and when it does, that'll be worse. But auditability, right? You want to make sure that you can always see things, always understand what it's doing, always be able to go back and look at things. Bias and fairness issues, if it was trained to be biased, it's going to be biased. It's not smart enough to understand that it is being biased, right? It's trained on the data that you give it. Training data exposure. Like I said, go out and make sure that the data that you give it isn't something that you're going to be worried about that's getting out in the public and getting out in the world, because once it's there, you're not getting it back. Deep fakes. And here's the other story that I was going to tell you. I was sent a training from one of our new training tools, and here was a phone. It was a simulation where I answered a cell phone, and it was my city manager talking to me in his voice, asking me for a password reset. And if I didn't know any better, it could have been the city manager calling me and telling me to do a password reset. And it's that good. It took 3 seconds of video or audio to be able to make that fake, that deep fake. It also happened in the UK, where somebody was called by their boss and said, I want you to wire 220,000 euros to somebody. And they did it. And it was all fake. And that's not just audio, video too can that happen. We have a training tool now that the manager that reports to me, he sent me something, it's his picture talking and his voice, but he didn't do it. He gave it a picture of himself and some words to say, and it made it for him. So we want to be careful. I mean, even they're saying in today's world, you want to have with your family a safe word. Because sometimes, and it's happened where somebody gets a call, their grandchild or their child has been arrested, and I need immediate support. What's your safe word? Because it may not be them. Shadow AI usage. So from what that means is, from a business perspective, right, there's a lot of tools out there. From a technology perspective, the ability for us to manage those isn't quite 100%. We're getting there. But shadow AI, if we don't have a way to block one of your staff to go out and use something that you don't want them to use, or they're going to upload some personal information that you don't know, right? Those are things that can happen that we have to worry about, that we have to think about. I love the aspect of AI. I love the fact that it can be very innovative and very helpful, but you want to be careful. Over-reliance on AI. That piece is another big one, right? Back to what we've been saying about make sure there's a human in the loop. You don't want to give it something and get something out that you don't validate. You don't want to rely just on that, because it's not necessarily going to tell you exactly what it is. Third-party integrations, intellectual property risks, lack of monitoring, and unsafe automation. So things that can happen, because it, as said, it is at its very beginning, right? It's growing really fast. AI is helping us build itself. It goes out and says, hey, I need more power. Here's a way to give me more power. So it's helping us make itself better. You can think if that's good or bad. So, defensive best practices. Limit the data that you're giving to your ChatGPT. Make sure that you take out your personal information. Don't put in PII, PCI, sensitive information. Make sure that that stays out. Even if you're using something that is a licensed. Copilot, for example, at Microsoft. and I think you're using Copilot. We're licensed it, and Microsoft is saying that it's staying in our tenant, and the data we use is staying in our tenant. I can't guarantee that. I don't see that, at least not right now. They're working on things to make that better, but you always got to think about that sort of stuff. And there are AI abilities to say you're going to build your own chatbot and give it your own data that it's going to learn on. So it doesn't learn off the large language models that are out there in the world. And it's not pulling things from the internet. It's only pulling stuff that you feed it for a specific task. And even that can, be, if you upload sensitive data, you don't want to do that. Use input-output validation. Apply least privilege access. So if you're building this for your staff, make sure that they have access to only what they need to have. Monitor logs and usage. Keep humans in the loop. And regularly test for prompt injection and misuse. So one of the things from a practical standpoint is literally when you're talking to a chatbot, how do you build that chat? How do you ask the question? And you really want to be specific. It's kind of like when you go into Google Maps and you say, find me a red robin. You didn't tell it where you're at, and it's going to tell you a red robin by your house if that's where you think it's at, when you're down in Salem, for example. Find me a red robin near me, or find me a red robin in Salem. So you want to be specific. And the more specific you are, the better it'll be. And it's smart enough to say, here's some questions that I need more information. I use ChatGPT to look at refinancing one of my vehicles and said, will I save money? And I gave it a bunch of information, and it asked me a bunch of questions back on how much is left and all. And it gave me a real answer, but I had to give it a lot of specifics to do it. So I'll put on my hat as Kelly, and even though she can't be here, so as a coworker, she says, the most practical way to think about AI is as a coworker. The goal in most cases is not a replacement, it's efficiency, as we've kind of been talking about. It matters economically because every organization has work that consumes time without creating much strategic value. That's where the jobs are going to come in, right? So as we work with AI, as we build things out, it's not necessarily that AI is going to replace people. It's going to help them be more efficient, especially in small businesses. You don't have time to sit there and build and take 3 hours to build something when maybe an AI tool can help that person do it in 10 minutes. So that's really where a lot of this is going to go. 5.6 hours saved per week, and 57% already investing in an AI tool. High impact, so customer service, marketing, operations, and training. These were some of the tools that are going to come in and help the small businesses. And I wish Kelly was here because she could talk a lot better than I can on this. Economically, that matters because these are not fringe functions. These are common workflows that cost time and money. McKinsey estimates generative AI could add $2.6 trillion to $4.4 trillion annually in value across industries, with as much potential tried for existing functions like these. So where is that going to take the small businesses? It's going to make us, and the small folks that don't have big staffs like me, we're going to be able to do a lot more and be more value added driven and let AI do some of the mundane tasks. Even though we're going to have to watch it, it'll be able to do that. Amplifying your voice. The drafting partner, the skeptic test, and the advocacy tool. One of the most practical economic benefits of AI is that it reduces the cost of the blank page. For smaller organizations, especially, there is often a real capacity gap between the needs to be communicated and how much staff time is available to communicate it well. That is where AI can be useful. It can help turn rough notes into a cleaner first draft. And actually, to be honest, I'm going to throw myself under the bus. This presentation was built by AI. Gamma, yes. And the nice thing was, we were able to just give it our notes, what slides we want, and put that into Gamma, and it built the presentation for us. Where something that would have taken us probably an hour, maybe 2, we did in 15 minutes. So it really is going to make a splash, per se, in how we can work and how we can be more productive. How to start. Now, this is kind of, I think, where Kelly was getting at, is where do we go? If the previous slides are about where AI can generate value, this slide is about how to pursue that value responsibly. As what's going on with Clackamas County, you want to go slow. You don't want to just jump in with both feet and start throwing things at it. You want to be intelligent about what you're doing. Look at what the tools that you're using. Look at what you're data feeding. Maybe pick one thing and say, is that going to work well? What is a task that I would like AI to do for me? And is it going to be better? Use that task and then grow upon that. And the more you do, the better you'll be, the better you'll understand. And by then, with AI as fast as it's changing, you may have new tools or new things that it's going to be able to do for you before you're even ready for it. And then resources to stay current. So the rundown, this is something that Kelly had put together that says, the final point she would like to make is that staying current is not just a technology issue, it is increasing a capacity issue. Organizations do not need to adopt every new tool, but they do need enough literacy to recognize where AI may create value, where it creates risk, and where they may be falling behind. That is especially true for smaller organizations with limited staff that can make it harder to evaluate new tools carefully. So that is where resources like these come in play. The same chamber research found that 58% of small business generative AI adoption also found 80% to 82% of small business using AI increased their workforce over the past year. So I think what that's saying is exactly, I'll speed it up, is exactly what it has been saying, right? At this moment, we're probably going to grow our teams. Eventually, those are going to morph into something else. That doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's going to lose their job. They're just going to change to something else. Maybe better, maybe more value add. So, I guess that'll be it. And welcome to any questions after the fact.
Thank you, Michael. You also brought a handout out here that you left on the table over there, AI guidelines set on your way out if you'd like to pick those up.
And I'll give my son the kudos. He's the one that built that.
Thank you. Last but not least, Dr. Katrina Boone, Associate Dean, Division of Industrial Effectiveness and Planning at Clackamas Community College. Institutional. Thank you. I appreciate it. Dr. Boone has spent more than 25 years building a career she truly loves in higher education. A proud Southern belle from North Carolina, she's found her calling early as a student ambassador, where she first saw how college operate behind the scenes and discovered the impact and committed educators and staff can have on students' lives. So true. She holds a doctorate in educational leadership with a focus on industrial technology leadership, as well as a master's degree in instructional. See, I need that. You know, give me, yeah. Katrina has served at Clackamas Community College for over 6 years, where she oversees online learning and educational technology and college-wide assessment of student support and service areas. She also formed the college Generative AI Policy and Practice Task Force, recognizing early that AI represents one of the most significant shifts higher education has ever faced. So true. Her approach emphasizes engagement, clarity, and preparing the college community for a rapidly changing landscape rather than avoiding it. Welcome, Dr.
Thank you very much. My Gamma slide, everyone. I also use Gamma for this slide. I only have one slide. I thought we were we needed just one slide, but I'm going to first talk to you a little bit about what I want to talk about, and then I'm going to get started. I have been in technology, in the world of technology, gosh, since a very, very young person. So I was excited when I learned about AI years ago. And so one of the areas that I'm going to start with today is the evolution of it. Kind of ground us and bring us back to, wait a minute, have we been here before in some different ways? So I want to talk about that a little bit. I want to talk about, because I'm coming from Clackamas Community College, and give you some perspective from the education side and higher education, and talk about those connections with education and what we're talking about, especially in the task force and around the college and some of the work that's happening. The economic impact of AI and how education connects to that. And then I want to talk about that human element. We've been hearing that with all of our panelists talking about the human in the loop and having a human judgment point in our decision making. So I want to talk about all of those things today. So as far as the evolution, we've heard a little bit today, even from William here. He's let us know this isn't new. And I want to just give us some examples again, because it's easy to feel intimidated when you hear about generative AI. I don't know what all the skill sets or experience that folks have in this room, but it's easy to feel a little anxiety and intimidation if you don't know it well, and it sounds scary the way people talk about it. But we've been here before, and so it's helpful to be able to utilize and take advantage of what we've already done, what we've already accomplished, and use that as we make our decisions as it relates to AI. And let me give you some examples. And some of these we've heard already today. Netflix, some of those streaming sites where they give predictive streams. Hey, you might want to watch this based on what you've watched before. That's machine learning. Some of those algorithms, that's an example of machine learning that you were talking about. It learned your behavior by the things you were doing. That's artificial intelligence. It's just a component of it. Facial recognition on our phones, the biosecurity on our phones. We go to the airport and other places where they're using facial recognition. That is artificial intelligence, and it's been around before 2022. Google Maps, we've heard about that today. Google Maps and navigational maps, so they're getting better, but we've been using it now. We used MapQuest and all of that before, and we'd print off the paper, and then we had GPS. A lot of that, and most of it was powered by artificial intelligence technology, and it came out many years ago. Siri, Alexa, content filters, spam filters in your email and social media, smartphones, and those text predictions that they make. Oh, is this what you wanted to say? And it's not always correct. Oh, shoot, I didn't mean to send that. That's not what I meant. I meant grape, not grape, And so it doesn't always get it right, but that is also a form of artificial intelligence. So it's been in our lives and in our daily lives, in our work, in our schools already. And so I just want us to be, if anyone in the room is feeling a little intimidated or anxiety about AI, it's okay. It's been in our lives already. We just got to learn more about what its implications are now. I also want to talk about the technological evolution. We've been here before where it impacts education. And we call it, oh, this is a disruptive to the classroom and to learning, or now we have to change everything. Gosh, I remember when I took typewriting class. I used a typewriter in high school. There was no laptop, right, to help. We still had to learn how to type, but we didn't have computers in the classrooms when at this age to myself. I just told you how old I was, but we didn't have computers in the classroom. We didn't have the advanced level of spreadsheets and well, no, that's not what I wanted to say. Calculators. I don't know if you remember. Oh, well, how are they going to learn math if they have a calculator in the classroom? How are they going to learn? They're going to cheat on this test if we give them this calculator to use in their classrooms. And then just a few years later, the calculator was required, right? So we've been here before. Um, and I'm going to talk about this a little more when we start talking about the economy, but just to give you a heads up, I know when I first started applying for jobs after in college in the 90s, age myself again, in the 90s, the requirements to get a job were a little bit different. Then, you needed to do a Microsoft Word, or even before that, desktop publishing. I think that was a term that was used, and you got to know how to do spreadsheets. And now some of those expectations are changing. So we're going to talk about that. So now that I've kind of given you stroll down memory lane a little bit, then maybe this does feel a little bit like deja vu. We've been here before. What we did learn the last time? What happened when online learning over the decades? It used to be, if you learned online, how can it be the same as in person? Did it have the same level of credibility that learning in person had? So some of those same conversations are now happening with AI. What if they cheat online? Well, what if they cheat with a calculator before that? And now what if they cheat with the academic integrity with AI in the classroom? So we're going to talk about that. So moving forward into that, the ecosystem section, we just talked about the evolution. I'm going to move over to this block over here, the ecosystem, which I say navigating the complex, nonlinear intersections of teaching, operations, and innovation through a shared foundation of humanity, academic integrity, critical thinking, governance, privacy, and security. So, as was mentioned in my intro, I was asked by our vice president to form a generative, he didn't name it, but I named it, and some type of task force, because the college is like, what do we do? What is our responsibility? What's our role? What is the governance? How are we going to set guardrails for this technology? What questions do we need to ask? What do we need to know? And so, so I formed this task force in the summer of 2025. The task force includes folks from all around the college, because I think what was mentioned earlier about moving slow, it was important to pause, take a moment, and have a chance to have some very critical, important conversations and talk about how we were feeling. What is it that you're experiencing? What questions do we have? What do we need to answer? And so those early days in the task force was a lot of just talking. What do we need to talk about? What do we need to address? A lot of what comes up in the area of education, not just at Clackamas Community College, and not just in our area, but across Oregon and other community colleges in Oregon, is balancing the excitement of AI and what it can do as far as teaching and learning with the cognitive aspects of it, academic integrity, course design, who owns. If we use ChatGPT, if you use a generative platform for content creation or for your papers or for your research, who owns, do you have rights to that information? Who owns the information that's generated? Those are the types of conversations that we're having. And then what is our role in higher education at the community college in preparing learners, preparing us for the changing skill expectations in the workforce? What is our role in that? And what does that look like in practice, in the classroom, and as an instructor, and then from the student perspective? And then and then what we also talk about, what we're addressing in the task force in education is, so we have the teaching and learning piece, which really has been the majority of our conversation so far, is thinking of, and more so, unfortunately, not unfortunately, but I would say unfortunately, because there's also opportunity to talk about the other side of it, but there's still a large fear about how do we mitigate, how do we get control over the academic integrity piece? How do we ensure that learning is happening and there's not an over-reliance on the tool or and so what does that look like? Is it okay to use it in the classroom or in your class? Is it not? The students have questions. I've been able to spend some time with the students, and they have a wide range of perspectives about AI. Some of them love it, some go absolutely not. I think it's You know, it makes you lazy and dumb. And then we have I've spoken to students who think, wow, if it wasn't for AI, I was going to continue to be confused in my course. I used it to help explain to me an assignment that I have. So, and then we have that whole range in the middle. So those are the types of conversations we're having at Clackamas Community College, and I'm sure at some of our peers as well. I will say, in that regard, I will let you know that I know that there's an Oregon Community College Distance Learning Association called OCDELA. And OCDELA has members from all 17 community colleges, and there is an AI literacy group, an AI work group who's working on the AI literacy component for the colleges and creating an AI literacy course that all of the 17 community colleges can benefit from for the educators. I haven't heard much of one for the students just yet. There's conversations, you know, do we offer courses and curriculum that include AI or an AI course? Those conversations are happening. But in addition to that, we're thinking about, okay, what about in our work, in our operations? So we're talking about how AI shows up. We talked about Microsoft Copilot. We are Microsoft College, and a lot of tools that we use, whether we had a chance to talk about it or not, or think about it in the task force, it's already integrated in the tool. So what do you do when it's right there in front of your face, and it's in the tool, and we're still creating policy and guidelines and procedures and best practices of how what is a safe, responsible, ethical use of AI at the college, in our work, in our offices, in our data and analysis, in our services, in our HR. And so those are the conversations that we are having. When do we disclose when we've used AI? That has come up before. And so I just want to let you, that's a lot of the questions that we're talking about as far as operationally, and it goes on security, securing data, securing information, and being understanding and knowing what tools and how to engage with those tools so that we don't compromise the data of our faculty, of our staff, of our students in the community, which is, you know, cybersecurity, unfortunately, has visited, cybersecurity issues have visited Clackamas Community College over the last couple of years, and so that's something that we cannot ignore, that we're not ignoring, that we have to make sure that we have clear and set guardrails as far as the security aspect of AI. So while we can be excited about some of the ways that we can automate tasks and create some workflows that we didn't have before, that security piece is one we can't overlook or think be an afterthought. It has to be created, and I know that our information technology services spends a lot of time focusing on making sure that we do just that. So let's see, and then growth and innovation. Growth and innovation is so important. We've got a bond approved, in the last election year, so we're growing as a college at Clackamas Community College. It's so exciting. And so there's also opportunity for AI to be included in part of that growth. How does AI show up in those new opportunities that we have, in those partnerships, and in those classroom spaces? What does that look like? And so AI is exciting. But right now, we are still at Clackamas Community College. Some of those conversations, we're still on that earlier side. Unfortunately, it's moving. The technology itself is moving quicker than what we can keep up the pace, and that's been a challenge that I have heard across with other peers at other community colleges, is that trying to keep up with the pace while we're trying to be thoughtful about the policies and the practices that we have in place at the colleges, and what tools we're going to integrate in our work and in our learning or not. Moving on, the economy. I want to talk about, since we were here talking about a lot about how AI is going to impact the economy, and we've heard about how we've talked about today about AI is going to take our job. That's a very common statement we hear all the time, and this is one you may not have heard, and this may be the first time you heard it, but I've been hearing it a lot more, is AI is not going to necessarily take your job. It's the individuals who knows AI and who can use AI effectively that probably will take your job. And maybe not take your job, but you may be passed over for a promotion. You know what I'm saying? So you may be able to keep your job, but some of your promotion or advancement opportunities might be limited if you don't know AI. So just keeping that in mind is scary, and that is the reality. It's the individuals that are leveraging AI in a way that will make your businesses stronger, that will increase your productivity, your revenue, streamline processes, automate processes. Those who understand it and can apply it are the ones that are probably going to cause some problems with some job placement in the future. So that's kind of a two-sided of a coin for us. We have the excitement of on one side, the reality that AI can make your business more efficient if applied well, if applied within the right ways, utilizing and understanding what types of AI does what. Do I need agentic AI? Is it generative AI that's going to solve, is it a combination of the different conversational and chat bots, and we need an agentic workflow? Knowing what it is that your business needs in your industry is going to be important. And so on the side of the education, with folks who are working with the community and the workforce, it's going to be important for us to understand what those needs are, what those changes are, so that we are aware and we can help our students be more skilled and prepared. But what that looks like, we don't know yet. We're still talking about that. We're still thinking about that. And there's no easy answer to it. And it's not something we'll solve tomorrow. But like I was saying earlier, we've been here before. So what I am interested in doing is saying, hey, what did we learn the last time this happened? Because it's not the first time, and it won't be the last. This won't be the last technology to come and change and make and shift and cause us to reconsider and pivot in how we work and how we learn, right, and how we live. So the last part I want to talk about is that human element. We've heard a lot about human in the loop, and I'm just going to, here's a statement that I wrote down on my notes that means something to me when I think about AI, because you can get lost in the sauce so easy, talking about tools and the data and the numbers and the fear of jobs being lost. And there is a true and legitimate fear. There's a true and legitimate consideration of the environmental impacts that is happening around us with this technology. So all of those things are true. But what I have here is people first, humans first, always. We cannot sacrifice human judgment, relationships, or decision-making for the newest, shiny implementation. Because I've been in this a long time, and I saw the excitement of a tool, and then it ends up in the corner. I don't think that's going to happen with AI, but it can in some ways. Designed by the human does the design, and AI is a support tool. I'm hearing, and no offense to anything I've heard, human in the loop. My recommendation is start with the human. Begin with the human, right? And the human aspect needs to continue throughout however you're going to implement your AI tools. AI must remain a tool to increase capacity and fill gaps, but not a replacement for what humans are fundamentally intended to do. We share a responsibility to establish standard cadence policies that mitigate environmental damage and protect our neighbors, ensuring innovation never comes at human expense. So, and I'm pretty sure there's some points that I wanted to mention today. I think I saw somebody, were you giving me the time? Okay. All right. So I just want to say, the last thing I think I would just want to walk away with is some actionable steps you can do after you leave today is just write down 5 ways that you can make sure that the human that it's always people, that what does people first, human first always mean to you. Just 5 things, 5 ways that you can influence that in your industry, in your businesses, in your places of work, in your homes. And then 5 ways that are 5 areas of AI that are critical in your industry, and commit to learning what those are and what skill sets you need to build in order to not be left behind. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Boone. I'd like to have a big round of applause for our entire panel. I just think they knocked it out of the park. And I apologize for the fact that we have so much information to cover that we are not going to have time for our usual 20 minutes or more of Q&A, unless a lot of you want to hang around. But I think we've got other lives to live. The wrap-up that I would like to give is that my conclusion is that AI is neither good nor bad. It's just a tool. I think some of you who know me know my passion for words, and the word sabotage comes to mind, which comes from the French word sabot, which is the wooden shoe that the workers threw into the gears of the looms that were part of the Industrial Revolution. There are people that will do anything they can to stop AI, and it's not stopping any more than agriculture stopped or electricity stopped. The trick that we have to do is learn how to use it safely, wisely. Some of the issues that did not come up are liability. In an AV car, you know, you're going to blame the software, you're going to blame the machine, what are you going to blame? I mean, if I were an attorney, she was standing up, I couldn't pass it up. Sonia Fisher, thank you. Liability and healthcare. Healthcare is the biggest employment sector, I think, that's going to be severely impacted by AI. And yes, and I'm getting the cut it off sign. Kent would like to wrap it up later, and I thank you very much for being here.
Well, William, I second your comments. Many, many thanks and kudos. We are so honored to have such a distinguished panel with such varied perspectives and interperspectives on this topic that is evolving not by the week, not by the day, but by the hour and the minute. I was looking on my phone. I think I had 8 articles about AI just while we were having lunch here. But, you know, there's another issue that we didn't talk about, but we did talk about people, and people is the name of the game. But one of the things that this concentration of technology, as William mentioned, 7 companies are investing $700 billion. 5 companies? $700 billion. Well, we talk about the Industrial Revolution, and then we talk about other technological revolutions that we've had in our country's history. Recently, the third quarter of last year, 37% of the wealth in the United States was owned by 1% of our population. That was equal to the bottom 90% of wealth of our population. When you see 5 companies investing $700 billion, it's kind of a scary thought when we talk about people, how the concentration of wealth is going to be in so few number of elite companies. Amazon's announcing to lay off 30,000 middle management people. You think they're just going to find another job when other companies are implementing AI to become more efficient, more cost-effective? That's not going to be as easy unless, as was shared by the group, they take on all the skills of AI themselves and grow with it. And I think that's the calling, and the question that we have right now is, how do we prepare our population to keep in step with what the demands are going to be for future employment opportunities? And another area where job growth is expected to just explode is in the skilled trades. Data centers need somebody to build them. AI is not going to build these things. Humans are going to build these things. So as the educational curriculums evolve with the implementation of AI, the skilled trades, right, Mr. Cook? The skilled trades are going to become more and more important for long-term employment with good salaries and not have to worry about, is my job going to be replaced? Because if there's a hurricane, there's demand for trades. If there's a flood, there's a demand for trades. If there's a wildfire, these people need to show up. They're mobile. They can go wherever they want. But like I said, we should have another forum on this topic next year, because what we're talking about today will be antiquated. And we'll revisit this whole topic and go, this is where we were, this is where we are, but more importantly, where are we going? So I challenge you, if we do that, to show up again. I want to thank all of you for coming today. I'm afraid to say I got a lot of information, but I still have a lot of questions. And none of us in this room can answer all those questions. But next month, we're going to talk about housing, another important issue that's facing all Americans these days as we evolve, unfortunately, from the American dream of home ownership to, can I afford my rent? Can I afford my utilities? Home ownership is more than just your mortgage. It's property taxes. It's everything else. Oh, I'm getting the hook. Okay. With that being said,
let's try to address these questions at the next forum. On the next, not the next forum, but the next time we do AI.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I was going to say we were going to submit the questions to our panelists and see if we could get some answers to some of the questions. No, not today. In writing. And then just see if they could answer them, and then we can post it on our website, because there's a lot of great questions here, and we, out of respect to all of you, I want us to be able to get answers to your questions. But again, thanks for coming. It's going to be summer this weekend. Don't get depressed out there. This is what keeps everything green in Oregon. All right, take care.